Good evening once again. I'm Rob Vaughn.
And I'm Wendy Davis. First at 6 tonight, a wake-up call for area school districts. A 69 News investigation reveals water in some of our schools may be unsafe to drink due to elevated levels of lead. In one case, lead levels were nearly 3 times what the federal government deems safe.
WFMZ's Hilary has been leading the way for us on this story. She's live in Allentown tonight at one of the schools where high lead levels were discovered. Hilary?
Wendy, Rob, we're here at Union Terrace Elementary School, one of 3 schools our investigation found an elevated level of lead. Now, in this sample taken from a water fountain at the school, our expert says he found a lead level 3 times what the government says is safe.
Lead is toxic at any concentration.
Dr. Arup Sengupta, an environmental and chemical engineer at Lehigh University, says that's exactly what he found in the water coming from fountains at 3 local schools. Lead, and at alarming levels.
If this is the lead concentration people are drinking, then that's absolutely no-no.
Earlier this month, as part of an ongoing investigation into elevated lead levels in children in the Lehigh Valley, 69 News attempted to obtain water testing results from the 2 largest school districts. Both the Allentown and Bethlehem school districts assured us that their water is safe, but could provide no specific test results. The EPA does not require schools to test their drinking water. So we began collecting our own water samples, and what we found was eye-opening. 3 random samples from 3 random schools, all with nearly double and in one case triple the amount of lead the federal government deems safe. Northeast Middle School, 27 parts per billion. Allen High School, 30 parts per billion. Union Terrace Elementary, 43 parts per billion.
Really, there is no safe level of lead, even if a school tap is tested at 3 parts per billion. That is not okay for children to be consuming.
Right now, the EPA has a standard of 15 parts per billion of lead in water. Anything above that, action should be taken. Are kids at risk with these levels?
Oh, if this is the level they're drinking, then they are definitely, not only the kids, even the adults are at risk.
That's because lead is considered to be one of the most dangerous neurotoxins known to man. It's been linked to reduced IQs and developmental and behavioral issues in children, as well as high blood pressure and kidney stones in adults.
Potentially on a daily basis, these children are being exposed to lead in water levels that are actually compromising their future.
69 News has been consulting with Dr. Yana Lombernado, part of the water testing team at Virginia Tech University that uncovered the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, and just recently testified before Congress on this issue.
I was concerned because safety of our students is always my first thought literally every morning.
Bethlehem Area Superintendent Dr. Joseph Roy says as a result of the 69 News investigation, he will take action immediately.
Today, the city is going to take water samples from Northeast Middle School and send it to a state-certified water testing laboratory.
Dr. Roy says when students return to school tomorrow, the drinking fountains at the schools will be shut off. Bottled water will be provided for drinking and cooking. Over in Allentown, the school district tells us through a statement that the water at Union Terrace Elementary and Allen High School is also being tested. Tomorrow, water fountains at those 2 schools will not be in service. Both schools will refrain from using the water for consumption. The safety and well-being of our students and staff are our top priority. Both school districts have told us they rely on their city's water suppliers to maintain the safety of their water. And experts say that's the problem. The water may be safe and lead-free when it leaves the water treatment facilities, but that can change when it comes into contact with the pipes in the schools. Old pipes containing lead or lead solder that can leach into the water, causing serious issues. Can lead pipes be dangerous for people?
Oh, they can be very dangerous.
And common as well. In fact, lead pipes and lead solder were the standard in plumbing from the turn of the century up until the 1980s. Many of us grew up drinking water that traveled through lead pipes. But in recent years, the medical community has come to realize that even low levels of lead in the blood can do irreversible damage, which is why experts agree. City officials need to do a better job of educating themselves and the public about the dangers lurking in old plumbing. Because even with knowledge that there are old lead pipes and fixtures out there, time and time again, when we questioned local officials about the water, they insisted the water is safe.
I do not believe that the children we are seeing as having lead exposure risk have a risk from their water.
The water that we're delivering, we feel confident, is doing its job to protect public health.
Officials on a local and state level point to lead dust, paint, and soil as the main culprit of elevated lead exposure levels in the Lehigh Valley. A response Dr. Lambernado says she hears nationwide.
The narrative that paint, soil, and dust are always the main source is a narrative that is based on us not looking at lead in drinking water.
Now again, all 3 samples were taken at random, and experts agree any school, any place could have a similar issue if the water is flowing through lead pipes, lead service lines, or lead fixtures. Reporting live tonight in Allentown, Hilary Lane, 69 News.
First at 10, a homeowner's shock over excessive lead in her tap water.
Tonight, the next part in our continuing investigation of lead and water issues. Today, the Allentown School District replies with its own test results after expert testing done for 69 News found some troubling results in schools, and we'll get to that in a minute or so.
But first, the results of a test on the water in a local home has the homeowner really concerned. WFMZ's Hilary Lane has more.
Officials continue to tell us the water we're drinking is not contributing to the higher rates of lead exposure in the Lehigh Valley. Through a right-to-know request, we found more than 90% of the homes tested by the local water authority have a measurable amount of lead, although most do fall under the federal actionable level. Again, experts say no amount of lead is safe. As part of our investigation, we also collected our own water samples, the same way the local authorities do it. When we notified a homeowner that she had an alarmingly high lead level, she said she could hardly believe it.
Are you surprised?
Yes. It's not something I would have expected at all.
This woman, who didn't want to be identified on camera, never would have expected that the water coming out of her sink was contaminated with one of the most dangerous neurotoxins known to man, lead.
Were you under the assumption that your water was safe?
Absolutely. Why would I think any different?
Her water is supplied by the Lehigh County Authority, and representatives there say its water passes every test with flying colors.
We're following the state and federal standards for safe drinking water.
And that likely describes the water as it leaves the authority's treatment facilities. But when we brought a sample from this woman's tap to an independent lab for testing, the results were startling. Lead at 24 parts per billion, well above the standard of 15 parts per billion. And officials say no amount of lead is safe.
I was angry. I was really mad. And in shock too, because I have an autoimmune disease to begin with that just can amplify the problems I already have.
So why are people drinking contaminated water? When the water comes out of the LCA's treatment center here in Allentown, it's safe and lead-free. The water then travels through a water main under the street and then through a service line into your home. The water mains do not contain lead, but the line from the main into your home might. Lead pipes were the standard in plumbing from the turn of the century up until the 1980s, and copper pipes can even contain lead solder. So experts say when water passes through the pipes, there is a chance lead can leach.
It can get lead dissolved in water.
And some older and newer in-home fixtures are made of brass.
Brass is mixed with lead to make a more malleable kind of fitting so that they don't leak.
According to state and federal guidelines, the Lehigh County Authority must test just 50 homes out of the tens of thousands it services every 3 years. Through a right-to-know request, we obtained a copy of the results. 46 homes of the 50 contained a measurable amount of lead. 5% were over the federal limit. According to the law, 10% can be over that limit before the authority must change the way they're treating its water. Dr. Yana Lambernado, who was part of the team that uncovered the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, says this can give people a false sense of security about their water.
When water utilities say that because they meet this action level of 15 parts per billion, the water is safe, that's actually a misleading statement. The water is safe when it has 0 parts per billion of lead in it.
And this woman and others who we spoke to says that's just frightening. If we hadn't tested her water, this woman says she never would have known and would have continued to drink and cook with her lead-laden water.
But we never thought lead, ever, Would have never thought that.
Now, there are ways to protect yourself. Best thing to do is have your water tested. Some local water conditioning companies will bring a sample to the lab for between $25 and $35. You should also find out if the water that travels through your pipes are lead, but finding out that information can be more challenging than you might think. You can, of course, choose to use bottled water or buy a lead filter that removes lead. We'll have much more on all of that tomorrow.